Because in the beginning, when I met you guys, you guys were going to the rollout, and then I saw the rollout. I was actually done. You said you were going to do the Google ad, and you actually did it. And I see like well, at least you guys shared the number of requests come in, and you guys
Well, I
said
think
you're gonna
when you first came in, I said we were about to win Hilton,
right,
and we hadn't won it yet.
right, right,
And we
right,
won that. Like the big milestones have happened that we've been talking about and saying we would achieve.
right,
And
right,
now we have.
right. So okay, let's talk about risks because like I always have to
Sure.
highlight risks, right? Like I'm just sharing my own experience with my audience because like it's my own money. Like I'm
Sure.
I know this is like either go big or go home. There's always risk in investment. I could lose all of my money with you guys. That's given with everything I try. Not with you guys, but with everything I try. So what are the risks? Like to me, let me start asking you this. What's the probability and chances of people getting contract with Hilton, getting contract with Marriott, and getting other hotels, and get you guys out of the game? And what's like,
Getting us out of the game. What's a possibility of a competitor coming in?
what's preventing them from getting contract with Marriott, getting contract with Hilton, doing exactly what you guys do? What's preventing them from doing that?
I love that question. Richard is the guy that actually did the heavy lifting for Hilton. I'm going to let you answer this one.
Yeah, it took us easily 5 years to get through the gauntlet at Hilton. To get a master service agreement with Hilton is, like that's the holy grail. They are the toughest of all the different brands out there. Hilton is the most difficult. If you can get through that gauntlet and get the master service agreement at Hilton, you have accomplished something. Then the others
What
will
do they
follow.
call it?
Pardon me?
What does Hilton call it?
Oh, yeah. When I first started working with them, they said, "Boy, you're in for it. You're going to go through what they called the 9 pillars of hell." And they weren't kidding. They weren't kidding. So when we got
But
to the end of that, it was again, like I said, an amazing accomplishment. The other thing that we've accomplished in doing so is they don't like to have multiple companies providing the same service. This is a barrier to entry to others. There is, no chance that another competitor is going to be able to get a master service agreement providing exactly the same product as we have. There's only one other one right now that exists. So there is only going to be two of us that will have a master service agreement with Hilton, period. So that guarantees us, and a strong position with Hilton going forward. I mean, you're basically a partner for life with Hilton as long as you provide value for their business. You're there for life. And you become stronger over time because they include you in all of their future projects as well. I mean, AI is a good example. Right now, we haven't even spoken about this, but AI is going to be a big part of, the say the guest experience on the HCN tablets. And we'll do that together with our partner, which is Hilton.
Now,
And
do you
we'll take that same model into other brands, in time. I mean, we are working today, as Kevin mentioned, with Marriott.
and I disagree.
Marriott's going to come on board.
Yeah, I don't really agree that Hilton's the hardest though, Richard. Marriott's harder.
Well,
And
Marriott's harder to get into, but in terms of getting through the gauntlet in technology, Hilton's the toughest.
okay, so we've got, and the point being, Cindy, that the barriers to entry to get into these major accounts is a multi-year process, not something that you can just apply for and get. So a competitor coming after us has that barrier to entry. The second part of this is we will have already launched our citywide initiative, and getting into the cities is hell. And, just as hard to break through. It's taken us years of working in Chicago to get our first city and then getting Miles Media on top of that because we have Chicago. We expect to get Miles on board. These are high barriers to entry. And the last one is Google. It's a year of programming and, you know, this can't be done easily. These are mile high barriers to entry for each of these of these components of the business success that we've established.
Okay, let me ask you this. Once you get a master agreement with like Hilton or Marriott, do you have to do another contract for every rollout, or is that it? Like you don't need more approval?
We don't need more approval. Once
Okay.
we have the master service agreement, we go to the hotel, we give them the agreement to sign, and they can sign it locally without going back to Hilton.
Okay.
That's why with the Diplomat, prior to this, it would take us 6 months to close a contract with a Hilton. Remember, we're in a bunch of them because each contract had to be approved by head office.
Right.
Now, with the Diplomat, a 1,000-room property, the whole thing was wrapped up in 2 weeks.
That's why you're saying you can scale up so fast.
They're gonna
Vertical, yeah,
They're
vertical.
gonna go like dominoes, knocking one over after another. All
Right.
these big box 1,000-room hotels will one after another install.
Now, so do you have ex-Hilton executives and ex-Marriott executives on your team?
Well, Neil Schubert, 20 years at Marriott, is our full-time chief product officer working for the company. Nobody is deeper connected than Neil.
Okay.
If you would like me to, I think we're out of time, but I do have a great video from Neil where he explains his connections within the company, why
Right.
he joined us,
Right.
why he thinks this rollout is going to be as big as it is. And then for Hilton, we have the former chief information officer of Hilton, which I showed on our advisory team, as our key Hilton top executive.
Okay. So I think one of the barrier to entry is that people have to assemble a team, which actually knock on the doors. Okay. How many years did it take you guys to get to the Hilton, the Marriott, or in the works?
So our first installation of tablets at Hilton was 2015. We closed the contract in 2024.
Oh my
That's not
goodness.
9 years, and they started giving us the master service agreement in 2019, and that was 5 years of work to get it through.
Okay, so that's about a decade of barrier to entry.
It's a
Okay.
very big barrier to entry, and you know, and it's not just their scrutiny. Here's what happened and why it takes so long. Their project team picks it up, and then suddenly you're not getting emails back from them. They dropped it. They forgot about it. And if you don't have deeply embedded internal champions inside the company to go kick the can up the tree
Yeah.
again, they lose you. And it's only because we had so many big top executives within Hilton promoting us and saying, what happened to HCN? I mean, you can't imagine how long it took to finally get through all those hoops to the final stage at which they still dropped us, and we still had to get vice presidents engaged to get it back up again. So it's not just the barriers of technology, it's also the corporate procedural barriers that are a barrier to entry. And unless you've made a deep investment in Hilton and in winning those internal champions, you're not going to get through. They'll drop you like they did everybody else. And at this point, if anybody anywhere in a Hilton, any Hilton in the world calls up and says, we're interested in tablets, they're going to be told, oh, here's the number, call HCN.
So, okay, what about your barrier to entry in technology?
What?
Your
Barriers to
barrier
entry?
in technology, like, do you see any risks of people just easily copy? Like, do you guys have patents? Do you guys have like hard
Another
knowledge embedded?
fantastic question in which I have a fantastic slide. This is
Shareholder, I care.
this is
Right?
HCN's patent
Oh,
portfolio,
all right.
right? And it's like, good luck. I'm just going to highlight one of them to illustrate what we've achieved here in terms of barriers to entry. This is an issued patent, not pending. And the meeting and convention industry, which is the largest single driver in the hotel industry, and especially these downtown hotels, these city hotels, 60–80% of their business is at least 50% of their business is usually from groups. So our group communication module is patented. It's an issued patent, in which a group can take over their screens in their attendee rooms. If you're there for a wedding, you can post the bride and groom up on the screen. If you're there for an association meeting, the head of the association can video a little greeting to you and put it in his attendee rooms. How is an incoming competitor going to compete with us at Hilton if they cannot do that? They can never service the groups, the biggest customers. We have an ironclad competitive barrier in an issued patent. I can serve a cease and desist. So that's
Mm.
one of all the patents that we've filed.
Okay, okay. So, are there no risks that you see?
Well, let's just say this. Let's look at the risks and say that, okay, there's always risks.
Right.
What's the biggest risk of any startup? Running out of money. Most companies that don't make it to the finish line don't make it because they ran out of gas
Right.
somewhere along their journey. Our company now has over 300 investors. We are one of the top investee companies of Keiretsu, which is the world's largest pre-IPO investment consortium. You know, they're a global 58 offices, and we're one of the largest investments they've ever made. And with 300 investors, for example, when we needed millions of dollars to do our tablets, to buy them, we offered a debt instrument to our existing investors rather than going to a leasing company, so that we have financial strength that most startups absolutely don't have. On that last investment call that you attended, Cindy, we raised over $1 million in new investment, which is an incredible accomplishment for a startup. It's akin to a public company in terms of our financial strength now. And so that de-risks us. Look at COVID. We made it through, and the only other companies in our category that made it through were ones that had taken in venture money, not companies funded like us. Call us bootstrap funded. And we've resisted taking in institutional money because we simply didn't want to give up control of the company. One of my competitors, the CEO, was fired in January of 24, this year. CEO and founder was fired because they didn't meet their numbers. They had taken in venture money in 2019, not patient money, and
Not patient money.
yeah.
That's right.
So we have not taken in venture money or institutional money until we're ready, until we keep control. And because the numbers are so strong and so undeniable that institutions are fighting to get in, not the other way around. And so we are self-funded. We are not institutionally funded. We're not vulnerable in that way, and we're financially strong. So that is the, bulletproofing. And we made it through COVID on our own steam and did very fine, where our three competitors all suffered because they are institutionally funded. At the end of COVID, it's the broken down machine is in pain. And we came out of COVID much stronger than we went in. We rebuilt our whole product during COVID. And we lasted through it because Rich and I control the company. It's not controlled by a VC. And that gives us financial strength. It gives us corporate strength.
Okay,
There's risk number 2. Risk number 3, product risk. We've just rebuilt the product from scratch. It will withstand the deepest due diligence and scrutiny when incoming institutional money examines our code, examines the tech stack underneath it, examines the technology team running it. We really are ready for global scaling on the product side. And so those are some of the biggest risks. Now, we now have signed the biggest customers in the world. We have a fantastic revenue source. All of those things have been de-risked now. That's why the company is such a great investment, because we're now heading into the growth stage of the company.
okay, so a few questions about what you just said.
Mhm.
How are you paying what's the return you're offering to your existing shareholders for financing tablets? Is that something you can share?
12%, 12%. And
Annually?
we're just about to do another debt offering because we're about to buy 30,000 tablets for Chicago, and we're going to fund it through our own investors.
Right, okay.